On today's episode 272 of the Jazz Takar podcast, I talk about my best career lesson, building team culture, and how to stay up to date on relevant market trends. Now, to get your question answered live on the Jazz Takar podcast, all you got to do is go to meetjazztakar.com/podcast. All right, Bo, let's just jump right into it, brother. What's the first question and where is it coming from?
All right, first question is from Julie from Chicago. And she's asking, what's the most important career lesson you've ever learned?
I think the most important career lesson, and I guess it's coming from Chicago because I was just there. So big shout out to the whole crew and team that had myself and my team come do a workshop in your brokerage. Big shout out to Rafe from Real Brokerage, as well as the massive event that you guys put on to, I think it was a little over 200 people that I got to speak to as one of the keynote speakers at the event. But to you, Julie, the best and the most effective, I'm not sure if it was the biggest by any means, but definitely the most effective was getting into a room where people were doing what I wanted to do. So in my first 3 months of real estate, I chose a real estate company because of the name and the brand. And it's an amazing brand, an amazing company. They're huge. It's the one with the balloon. So big shout out to those guys. However, the setting for me, and this office still exists, this brokerage still exists, and they do very, very well. So it's not a shot at them by any means. But for me, it wasn't a fit because I didn't have somebody to watch. I didn't have somebody to listen to. I didn't have somebody to hold my hand. And for me, I learn a lot better when someone's kind of teaching me the ropes, right? So to speak. And so what I did after the first 3 months, I had this quick thought of like, oh my God, is this business for me even? Like, am I going to be able to do this at 23 years old when I got licensed? I was actually going to go back into car sales. But then I just kind of had a moment where it's like, you know what? I could do this. I know I could do sales. It's something at that time I was doing for probably about 12, 13 years. I knew I just needed someone to look up to. I needed a mentor. Plural, if that worked out, meaning if I could get 2-3 people, that would be great. So what I did is I kind of went on a hunt. I went on a hunt to see what team leaders possibly needed my help or I could bring them value. Because I was willing to do anything at that time in terms of all the work they didn't want to do, right? Like real estate agents, real estate professionals, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the back end that necessarily clients don't see. Like, there's putting up lock boxes, they're putting up for sale signs. Definitely 20 years ago, there wasn't like a lot of for sale sign installation companies. Us agents were doing that on our own. There was like printing of paperwork, bringing coffees to clients. I was willing to clean the toilets in the brokerage if someone was just willing to show me the ropes. And I went on a hunt. I made phone calls. I sent emails. 95% of people never replied back. I had about, 5% that did. I met with them and I hit it off with one guy, small brokerage. I think at that time, he had about 3 agents or so, and one was his sister. And so he was like, look, I'm willing to grow and I see something in you, Jazz. I'm going to teach you the ropes, but you're going to start off at a very, very low commission split. And I was like, that's okay, man. Like, as long as you don't lie to me, like, don't tell me you're going to teach me. Don't tell me you're going to allow me to sit in your meetings. Don't tell me that, that it's all rosy. As long as you don't lie to me, I'm cool, man. Like, I'm down for this. I'll sign a contract right now for 2 years at this same commission rate because I knew 50%, which it was at that time, was better than nothing. I was willing to take 25% in all honesty. When he said 50, I was over the moon. And by far, that was the best decision I made because for the next 2 years, I was like completely under his wing. Wherever he went, like he would go eat, I would be like, can I eat? Like, he's gonna go for a coffee. I didn't even drink coffee. Like I drink coffee now, but back then I didn't. I started drinking coffee because of him. Because if he was gonna go, I wanted to be there because I knew a call's gonna come in and I get to at least hear him speak. Like, how does he speak real estate-y? I knew sales, as I mentioned, I've been doing it for so long, even at that time, but I didn't know how to speak real estate-y. I didn't know what questions to ask people. And at 23, now you see a lot of young people in this industry. Back then, it wasn't as common. And so I already had the insecurities of like, people are gonna look at me like a little punk kid. How are they gonna see that I can possibly help them? And so what happened is not only did mine and his relationship flourish, but I became partner in his firm, and then him and I, we made changes in terms of how the organization and what you know of REC Canada right now with my current business partner is an evolution of what him and I started 20 years ago, to be exact, about 19 and a half years ago. And so he passed away about 7 years ago. You guys, for ones who have been in my community and following my journey for a while, you know who I'm speaking about. Rest in peace. God bless my boy Simon. But if it wasn't for him in this career, I've had other mentors before in other industries, but if it wasn't for him, I would not be sitting here, because even the other guys that I met, that 5% that it went really, really well as well, it's just, I don't think the relationship would have flourished. There was a reason that I went to go see him. In fact, when I spoke to him, he told me to come to an event he was putting on, and it just like, I was in awe. Full of charisma, knew what he was talking about. He was in the business probably for about 20 years at that time. He also got his license at a very young age, so our stories kind of matched up. But if it wasn't for him, there's no way. So what am I trying to articulate to everybody who's watching or listening? If you are starting a new career, if you're having trouble in the career that you're in right now, before you give up, I highly recommend that you go to a place and get in a room of someone who's doing it at a high level. And you gotta put your ego aside. There's a reason people say leave your ego at the door. Why? Because maybe you're 52 years old and you're like, man, I got a lot of experience, but I don't want to start at the bottom again. Don't look at it like you're starting at the bottom. You're learning. And so you have to be able to leave the ego at the door, meaning you might have to get coffees and it might feel like, oh my God, like this is like an assistant role. Sure, but you're gonna learn and you're gonna actually see it. It's not just watching a YouTube video. It's not just like listening to a podcast like you are right now, maybe in your car. It's not reading a book. All good things, right? Like you can read on how to do the best type of squats and how to get into shape. But when you actually do the squats, that's a lot more effective. And so when you're actually in the place, in the environment, doing the work, you're also gonna find out if you like it more. Maybe that's not it. I think of, I don't really talk about my personal life a lot, but I think about my wife because she wanted to be a chef, like an executive chef. She went to culinary school and then she had a placement. Maybe she should have done it before, but I'm glad she didn't because I wouldn't be able to tell the story. She went to culinary school, went through the whole process, like loved chefing. That was her thing, okay? And then she did a placement with a gentleman at one of the major hotels in the city. And I think the placement was for, I don't know, like 3, 4, 5 months or something like that. And she realized, holy crap, like, I didn't know that you're here for like 13 hours a day because you got to set up for the next day and all that kind of stuff that executive chefs and sous chefs have to do. And she realized that's not for her. She didn't want that. She's like, well, okay, I'm not going to be able to fulfill all my dreams, not only my career. And so she went away from that. And then she went into being into public health and safety. But if she didn't actually go and do that, she never would have known. She would have just got a job and our lives could have been completely different. Definitely her life, right? So get into a place where you have a chance of getting mentors because it will cut your success in half. Bo, what's next?
Okay, the next question is from Joe from Toronto. And he's asking, is it still worth starting a podcast with a lot of real estate agents doing it?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes. And let me explain. Number one, you're probably watching and listening to a lot of people that are coming out with podcasts. However, this is like a black and white number in terms of statistics. Only one out of every 10 that get started make it past their first 10 episodes. So I want to make sure like everybody understands this. Yes, there's this, oh my God, there's a pod. Everyone has a podcast now. It just seems like that. A lot of people actually start a podcast. Very, very few, 10%, make it to even 10 episodes. Out of that 1 out of 10 people that actually make it to their 10 episodes, only like a half of a person make it to their next 20 episodes. So you're not really competing once you get past your first 15 to 20. There's very little. This is like straight from Apple Podcasts. You can Google it or ChatGPT it. You'll see the numbers, okay? A lot of people start a podcast. Not a lot of people are consistent. Here's why you should do it. Because by doing a long form recording, that's all in the actual definition of a podcast is on-demand radio. It's the audio version. We now have evolved in what podcasting is about in terms of adding the video component, which I think is huge. But what I want you to do is a 30-minute recording in the industry you're in. So if you're a real estate professional, sit with other professionals in the industry. It could be other real estate agents right across your state, your city, your country, right across the continent. I do that all the time to get their take on what's happening. I would recommend more of the independent mortgage broker if you're a real estate agent, vice versa if you're a loan officer, a real estate lawyer, home inspectors. I mean, you can get enough topics for once a week, 30-minute recordings just by ChatGPTing it. Very, very simple. You know, my take on making sure that you're being resourceful, because that's a very easy and effective way to bring value. And he or she who brings value to the marketplace will always have a higher income versus the person who doesn't bring much value. Your income for the rest of your life is and will always be determined by the amount of value you bring to the marketplace. The way that you're bringing value through a podcast is that you're helping people get more information and they're being educated. That's important because you're not selling them on the process of creating a real estate portfolio of income properties, for example. You're educating them and informing them so they themselves can make a quality decision. That's the best way to sell. By you doing a 30-minute recording, you're guaranteeing yourself something. That you can take that recording, doesn't even matter how many people watch it on YouTube right away or listen to it on Spotify. Because what you want to do is take that and send it to the people in your email list. Because that's a little different than sending out an email on the best ways to clean out your gutters. Because not everybody has a roof, right? They have a condo. They don't care about landscaping. Or if they have a home, they don't care about something in terms of maintenance fees, right? Now, what you want to do is not only send that full 30-minute recording, you've also guaranteed yourself a bare minimum. Look, I can teach you ways and you can just reach out to us, ask us the question here, easily go to meetjazztackar.com/podcast. I can show you out a 30-minute recording using a term that we use, rinsing. You rinse out as much as juice as possible out of the orange and get 30 pieces of content. But just simply put, you're going to guarantee yourself 5 more pieces of content with the same amount of time invested. 30-minute recording, you don't have to record anymore to get 5 pieces of content. That's why it's important not only to record a podcast through audio, but to also record it on video. And if you're not comfortable making eye contact with the lens, and I understand that because I wasn't comfortable with it as well, you don't even need to look at the camera. Like you literally can just be having the conversation with the real estate lawyer, the home inspector, the independent mortgage broker, and just have a camera on you. So at least we can put it into AI. We can have someone edit it for you because you recorded it on video. Starting a podcast, and if that even scares you, don't worry about like calling it a podcast or calling it a show. I think I'm like, I understand real estate professionals now. We need to dumb it down, not because you're dumb, because of the fact that we overthink too much and we overanalyze stuff way too much. And so what it really is at its core is just a 30-minute video recording that we're gonna chop up and get more content. And the more content that you put out, the higher chance you have of getting someone's awareness, and then the higher probability of you selling more real estate. That is it in its most basic form. We cannot be secret real estate agents. We need people to know that we're in the business. Now, you can be the weird person at a funeral handing out your business card. That's a way of getting awareness. It is what it is, right? Or you could do some videos and let people watch you and listen to you. Maybe you're listening right now at 2:00 in the morning with a glass of wine. Maybe, right? You're chilling in your pajamas. Maybe you're taking your dog for a walk in the morning right now. You're allowing people to watch and listen on their own time. What's next, Bobo?
Okay, the next question is from Ben from Washington. What's the biggest difference between working with buyers and sellers?
Great question. Biggest difference as a real estate professional is that when you have listings, there's a reason that there's a saying called listings to last, is that you have control of the inventory. Now, on the flip side, when you're working with buyers, it's generally a little easier to work with buyers because somebody who owns a home and who's thinking about selling their home, they worked with a real estate agent. So they might have that person still they might have like a relationship with that person. Side note, the national statistic is that 90% of sellers don't remember their real estate agent because the agent never stayed in touch, right? So that's why it's important to nurture your email list with your past clients, your family, your friends. Now, if I could have it my way, I would work with both, investors. Because investors gives you an opportunity to create deals. Because a listing, a seller, or a home buyer, a buyer, generally only happens, the market only turns over about 5% to 6% in any given market or city across North America. But there's still a lot of people who are wanting to invest and create wealth and get out of the rat race. And that's where you can create deals. You're not just waiting for people to think about buying a home as their principal residence or somebody who needs to sell to move up or move down or maybe leave the country. But what you're doing is actually creating deals. Between the two, if you're a newer agent, you're probably going to your business is going to be swayed with working with buyers because sellers want to see that you have some experience. That doesn't mean that you don't try to work with sellers. You just got to be able to speak about it from a different perspective. Like if your office, if you're on a team, and if you're not on a team, if your office sells a lot of real estate in any given area, use those statistics. You can say the word we. Stop saying I. You can't lie and say I sell and I've sold a lot of homes here. You can say we because the actual listing is never with you as an agent anyways. It's with the brokerage. So you can still get listings, but you're probably swayed towards buyers. Have some patience in building your business. Doesn't happen overnight. Know that those buyers become sellers, right? Because they're probably going to move up. If you help somebody with a 500 square foot condo, chances are they're not going to live in there forever. 3-4 years down the road, they're going to want to move up. Now, here's some magic. You could help that person sell that condo when they want to move up into a bigger home, but I can guarantee you one thing. This is a strategy that's worked really well for me. I taught a lot of my first-time home buyers how to keep those condos. Yes, I lost out, and I'm doing air quotes for everybody who's driving right now. I lost out on that listing. However, I educated them on how to create wealth, keep the condo, rent it out, help them rent it out. Let's go find another home. What happened? Yes, I lost that listing and that deal and that commission check of selling that 500 square foot condo, but I gained way more introductions to their family and friends, because when they were at cocktail parties or at dinner and they're talking to their friend, this is like real life. This is how this happens, right? They're like, oh, so you bought the new home. Congratulations. Like, oh, okay, so you sold the condo? No, actually I didn't. I met, a crazy Indian guy who taught me how not to sell that condo and keep it. And they're like, oh, wow, so you have like an investment property? You're an investor now? How does that work? Not everyone they talk to asked to speak to me, but a lot of people did. So yes, you might lose out on one, but you'll gain a lot more.
Okay, the next question is from Dominic from BC. And the question is, how do you build a strong team culture?
Yeah, this is a good one. I actually think what we've done best in terms of our team in general. Yes, we sell a lot of real estate. Yes, we do. We have a lot of coaching members in our academy, but I think let me rephrase. It's not necessarily what we've done best. It's what I'm most proud of. That's exactly what it is. So to you, my friend from BC, what I am most proud of is the culture that we built and the way that we built it. Because I wouldn't be able to answer this if you asked me this 5 years ago, 7 years ago. But now I got it. Like, I kind of know what it is. It's the fact that we spend a lot of time with the people in the culture, right? So meaning my staff, we are spending as much time as we possibly can. Bo doesn't even know this, so I'm gonna say it. And my business partner in the academies might hate me because I'm kind of just putting it out there right now. But we've always spent formally in a setting in our office once a month with everyone, not talking about performance, not like, hey, Bo, like you could do more clips. Hey, Bo, you could do better content. Not like that stuff. Just like, hey, what's going on in your life, Bo? We've got to learn a lot about Bo and what his goals are, some troubles that he's having because he's human. He goes through shit. So we humanize the relationship. That's the way. Now, what I was about to say about in terms of breaking news is the fact that we're actually going to move towards doing this every other week, because we've had so much goodness come out of these meetings that we were like, let's put it on steroids. Let's do it more. So what we do to build culture is spend time. Think about any relationship that you have that is deep, long, right? Your friends, your family, your parents, your spouses, your partners in life, your kids, whatever, your nieces, your nephews. It's because you spend time with them, right? And it's quality time. Now, these meetings are not an hour long. You might be thinking, how do I do this with all my team members? 15 minutes. Now, there's other things that we've done as well, is that we actually like to eat together. Like, I think it's important. This is just one man's opinion. I think breaking bread with people is important. Why? Because it's one of those things, right? When you're eating with someone, conversations start happening. You start talking about non-work related, and sometimes they're like working lunches. There's just something about the act of eating together that brings people closer, right? Again, going back to the relationships that are very positive in your life, you probably ate a lot with them, right? And so that's something that we do. We try to do things outside of our office that is fun. And we don't demand that everyone shows up. We don't demand that it's only something that Jazz wants to do. We kind of we have a sense, we have a really good pulse. And how you will know if you have a positive culture is, do you have a pulse? Like, if I were to ask you right now, like, tell me about one of your staff members, where they're at in terms of their life. Are they happy? They're not happy. If you don't know that, that means you're not spending enough time. It's why I'm so proud of this. You name me a person on my staff, I kind of know where they're at. Like, out of a 10, I kind of know where they're at. 10 being like amazing, and 99% of the time, nobody's ever at a 10 at all times. But I can tell you, and when it's a 3, we gotta work, like we gotta talk. So we spend a lot of time talking. I don't think it's what most people believe how to build culture, because we've seen a lot of the Googles of the world, the Twitters and the Facebooks, with the foosball tables and the pool tables and breakfast, and I don't think that's it. Just because you have like a fucking foos table in the middle of your office, that's not culture. I don't think that's what it is. It's actually spending time with people, finding out what they want to do, outside of work. I was speaking with Bo, and I think Bo's going to start some other stuff on the side. Like, I know that. I'm like, yo, Bo, like, I don't know how I can help, buddy, but I'm going to try to help, right? Here's something else before I go to the next question. Here's a couple of questions that always help building culture from a leader's perspective. It's, Bo, how you doing? You good? Great. Did you need any help with something? And then actually help. And sometimes Bo's like, nah, man, I'm good. And then there's other times like, yeah, I might need help with this. Like, I'm having an issue. I was just speaking with Bo and Clyde before I came and done this podcast. And they're like, hey man, can we make a shift with something? We kind of need help because we're doing a lot of pieces of content. We want to shift how we're doing it. And I'm like, all right, how can I help? How can I bring value to you guys? And so those are kind of the ways to build the best culture. And I can speak about it because anybody who comes into our wing in our office, they all say the same thing. And it's not just me thinking that I have a good culture, because that would be, just positive thinking and all that kind of stuff. No, it's people telling us, man, there's something different in the air back here. And it's because we are always asking how we can help people. And there's this positive energy in the office.
Okay, the next question is from Ender from Florida. The question says, how do you stay updated with the latest real estate market trends?
Yeah, so I do a lot of reading, man. If you actually simply put, here's an easy way, and it can also help with social media content. And so what I do is I Google Toronto real estate news. If you're in Boston, or Inders, I believe, from Florida, I would say Florida real estate news. Enter. You'll see a bunch of articles come up. I go in, I read the articles. I kind of that's how I get the data in terms of social media content. You screenshot one of those articles and you do a green screen. That's one way. Number two is stay involved. What do I mean? Well, your board, whatever board you're licensed with, I guarantee you they're putting out content. It might not be through video. They're putting out something even on the MLS with stats. They're putting out stuff that is happening locally. That is something that I look at minimum once a week in terms of the numbers that are coming out. This way I know what I'm talking about. Like, I don't just spew what months of inventory are. I've been watching months of inventory in 7-8 part micro markets in the greater Toronto area for the 20 years that I've been doing this. So I can kind of get an idea of where the market's heading. It's a great indication. It's not always 100%, but it's a great indication to tell you, okay, this is kind of what the sense is about the market. Like, are we going to start to see multiple offers? I need to educate and inform my clients differently. If they're a home buyer or a home seller, obviously, but also if we're getting into multiple offers, how we market a home as a seller is going to be different. As a home buyer, well, if you're not in multiple offers and there's a lot of supply, then you have an opportunity to educate your home buyer in terms of saying, hey, if this one, let's throw an offer at them. If it works, great. If not, don't worry. There's another one coming up. There's already other properties out. So you got to make sure that you're involved. Read a lot. I think that art in the newer generation, right? If I may, because I've been in this industry for 20 years, it has been lost. You can't just get everything from other agents watching them on social media, including myself, because that's just a person's opinion. You yourself need to read the data. And sometimes you need to make lists of questions, then go ask somebody. But if you're not even taking the time, minimum once a week, if not daily, one of the things you should do is just sign into your board and see if there's anything new that's come out, right? And then here's the other thing. This is all holistic, right? It all fits. Also, when you're asking those questions, record that on video, because that is content that you can put out to your network.
Okay, the next question we got is from Kathy from Edmonton. The question says, Jazz, one of my weaknesses is follow-ups. What advice can you give me to improve?
Thanks for sharing, because not a lot of people say, look, that's my weakness. I think the number one thing that you can do to strengthen your follow-up process is automate it. Because you cannot remember all the little details a prospect told you. And it's not a good idea just to have it on an Excel sheet, because Excel, as good as it is in terms of formulas and capturing some data, it can't give you reminders. So most people are not good at following up because they don't have a system. So everyone that I meet anywhere goes into my CRM, and then I allow the CRM to automate everything for me. I put Bo into my CRM. I have it set up that he automatically gets an email from me every other week. That workflow, that's the term, is set up already. He also, at the same time I put him into the CRM, this happens automatically, guys. It gets set up that he gets a phone call, okay, from me or someone in my organization every 4 months. So this way we're calling him 3 times a year minimum. I say minimum because if we have an event coming up, he might get an extra phone call or 2 about that event. But minimum, he's getting a phone call 3 times in a year because it's automatically set up. Now, the second part people have trouble with when it comes to following up is what to say. Now, you have to reverse engineer / customize what you say to the person you're speaking to. If you're speaking to a prospect that said, I might be thinking about buying or selling or investing, well, you're going to speak differently to that person than if you just added someone to your CRM. Let me explain. If you're speaking to a prospect, you're going to just give them a call and say, Bo, I'm just making sure you're still on the same timeline that you mentioned to me. If it was 6 months, make sure that you call them before that 6-month period, right? And then before you get off the phone, always, and you're gonna screw this up a couple of times, it's okay. But you're gonna get better over and over. The more and more that you do it, you're gonna get better over time. Is you're gonna just make sure that before you get off the phone call, you're gonna say, Bo, can I just make sure that I follow up in the next 2 months to make sure you're still on the timeline? Now you got his permission, okay? That's set. If you just put somebody in the CRM because, you met them and you are just doing what's called general follow-up, what I do, make use of this or not, is just to call and say, Bo, I'm just giving you a call, seeing if you need anything in terms of maybe a plumber around your home, an electrician, a landscaper. And he might say, well, sorry, man, what are you talking about? You probably forgot, Bo, but I mentioned to you that I have a real estate concierge service. So if you're ever in the need of anyone, you don't need to look at Google. I already have people vetted in our area that I can help you with. No, you don't need anyone? Perfect, man. Now that I have you on the phone, I have an event coming up, or, where's your headspace at possibly with starting out in investing into real estate? You can go there, but at least at bare minimum, to the question that came in, you now can get a little bit more comfortable with following up. Most people are not good at following up with people in their database or in their CRM because of the 2 things. They don't have it automated and they don't know what to say, but I just fixed that for you.
Okay, this next question is from Kathy. Sorry, we just read that question. The next question is from Maria from Toronto. In your opinion, what skill should I focus on the most in real estate?
The number 1 skill should be the ability to meet people. That's it. I should just stop there because I say that because, everything else. And there was another question that came in today in terms of how to follow up. Look, first things first, you got to meet people. Until robots start selling to robots, we as real estate professionals help the public buy, sell, invest, or refinance or finance real estate. And we do that with other human beings. So the skill that you need to get really, really good at is meeting as many people in person and online every day. The days that you suggest that you have told yourself you're gonna work, i.e., you've already figured out the days that you're not gonna work. And so if you're gonna work 5 days a week, 6 days a week, I need you to meet 10 people a day, new people a day. Where? I mean, this conversation can go on for hours upon hours, but the skill is being okay to meet people. And then the following up, the paperwork, all of that stuff you can get better at. You could learn. You might be amazing at that actually. But the problem with being amazing at having the best listing presentation or the best buyer presentation is that if you're not meeting people, you're not gonna have anyone to present to. So the skill set is meeting people. And I can tell you guys, I have sold billions of real estate. Like, I'm not trying to impress everyone here. It's just a true fact in my 20-year career. And I suck at 90% of the process in real estate sales. I actually have never done an offer myself, like written up an offer. I suck at all that stuff. I don't even own a computer, guys. I do everything from my phone, okay? What I've done really, really well though, to get those results is I just meet a lot of people. In fact, it's 80% of my day now. 20% is checking with my team. You know, my 9-year-old yesterday, he asked me, he said to me, he's like, Daddy, what do you really do? He's like, so I'm at school for about 7 to 8 hours a day, Dad. And I was thinking about this. Like, this is true. This was last night. He's like, I was thinking about it. Like, what do you do, Daddy, all day? Like, do you sell a house every single day? He was just asking, he's like, how much do you make? He was asking me all these questions. And I said to him, I told him the same thing. I'm like, all day I'm thinking about how to meet people is 80% of my day, and 20% is checking in on my team. I'm walking around. Like, don't even take my word for it. Just ask my crew anytime you see them or ask them online. All I'm doing, I'm going by, Bo, you good? You need anything? Clyde, you need it? Alex, Laura, Tyler. Like, that's it. I'm just checking it. That's 20%. 80% my head's turning. How can I meet more people? How can I meet more people in person? How can I meet people online? That skill set is very, very crucial. In fact, we think it's so crucial in our academy. Yesterday, we brought in for a 3-hour training. Okay, it cost us a few $1,000 to bring this guy in. I'm so glad I did. I would have paid him triple with the success that we had and how happy our academy members were. We brought in an improv expert. Why? Because I needed to get my academy members, our coaching clients, more skills and get them better at opening conversations. And then flowing, I call it dancing, but flowing with what's happening in the conversation. You can't be scripted all the time because the person that you're meeting or speaking with doesn't have that script. So they're going to go off script and you need to be okay to dance with them. I learned so much yesterday. This is 30 years of sales and service experience speaking, and I learned so many things that I'm going to try and see what I'm comfortable with and what I'm not comfortable with. But I think the main thing that I got out of yesterday is being more present, not thinking about what you have to say next to kind of check the box. It's being present in the conversation, because when you're more present in the conversation, you could go have a deeper impact in that conversation. Remember, if you want to be the most interesting person in any room, it's not the knowledge you have. It's not even charisma or being loud or being an extrovert. If you want to be the most interesting person in any room, just try this. Don't take my word for it, but try it. Be the most interested person in the room. And it's not that hard to be interested. All you got to do is ask questions. What do you do? How long have you been doing it for? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What made you get into this? What are some of your big, hairy, audacious goals in life? What excites you right now? These are the questions that you can ask. And people will walk away. I'm telling you, don't take my word for it. Just test this out, okay? People will walk away from that conversation and say, wow, Inder's so interesting. And yet you probably said 7 words. but they felt heard. They got what humans need a lot is psychological air. They need to get stuff out, maybe because they can't get it out at home or they can't get it out at school, whatever it may be. People like to talk about themselves. They really, really do. 95% of people, look, is this gonna work with everyone? No, I'm not trying to paint, everyone with the same brush here. But 95% of people really wanna talk about themselves. They just haven't had, nobody gives them the platform to do it. But if you're the person who's asking the questions, you're going to be very, very interesting to a lot of people, which will get you more connections. And that is the skill that you need as a real estate professional. In fact, it's the only skill. All the other stuff somebody else can take care of. They can show the homes, they can list the homes. You can get, you might not be able to transition to that right away, but you can get people there. I'm living proof of it. Living proof of it. I don't go out to listings, guys. I speak to very little clients other than making phone calls, setting up appointments, because I still like to sharpen my skills. I don't want anyone on my team to think that they're as good as me. So I got to make sure that I sharpen that skill all the time, because you got to keep practicing. And then I speak to my clients who buy multiple properties. But I've delegated all of it other than that. Right? And what I focus on is 80% of my time is making sure that I'm meeting more people.
Okay, we're at the last question, and it's from Harmon from Texas. What is the best way to develop a strong value proposition for my business?
Great question. And how about them Cowboys? Hopefully you're a Dallas Cowboys fan and not a Houston Texan fan, by the way. With that said, the biggest value proposition or the strongest value proposition, in my opinion, should be, and it's what I've done, so I'm only speaking out of experience, and the results that I got out of that experience is teaching people how to do this whole process of buying, selling, investing, and financing on their own. Giving away, here's the value prop, giving away all the trade secrets. So I wrote a book. And if you want a copy of this book for free, just leave it in the comments wherever you are, and I'll make sure I get this copy over to you. It's called Real Estate Intelligence. Just make note of that. And in that book, it talks about how to buy your own home, how to sell your own home without a real estate agent, and how to invest into real estate without a real estate agent. Because I came to realize really quickly that all that information that I thought I only knew as a real estate professional was easily accessible online. You just Google this stuff, ChatGPT it. What I wanted to do is, and this is the value prop again, I wanted to be the messenger, and that's how I built myself as the authority in the Greater Toronto area, definitely with 11 to 12,000 people, that's for sure, because that's what my CRM is and how many people we've been nurturing over the past couple of decades, that I'm gonna teach people how to do this on their own, knowing nobody's gonna do it. I know the stats. Right across North America, 2 to 3% of people that buy, sell, or invest in a home do it on their own. Meaning for sale by owner, or they just bought it privately. Everyone else who transacts uses a real estate professional. Look, AI might take over our jobs at some point. I don't think it's in the near future. So I don't worry about that stuff. I'm gonna keep doing what I do. In fact, on the heels of knowing that as my value prop, with my coaching academy, same thing. So what's my value prop? I'm going to teach all the real estate professionals, agents and mortgage brokers, how to build their business without paying me. When you want the accountability and done for you, then you'll pay. Up until then, I'm just going to keep doing what I do here. Because most people don't want to do things on their own. And then they don't get the results. And then they find ways to okay, how do I just get this done? We're humans, I was going to say we're lazy, and we all are at some point. Definitely, we always like to take the path of least resistance. So we think we're going to take a resource and then actually do it. I know. I was in a room of 200 people last week, exactly at this time, I believe. And I can tell you, out of the 200 people, there's going to be 2 people that did anything with all the information I gave them. I dropped nuggets. I was on fire. I'm not going to do anything. I'll prove it. I'll give you a free course right now. It costs us about $77,000 to build. Free course has all my scripts, all my resources, has videos associated with it. All you have to do, send me a message. Wherever you're watching this right now, send me a message and say, Jazz, I want to get your course. I'm going to give you the course. You're not going to do anything with it because you need help. We all do. And so the value prop should be show people how to do what you're trying to sell. Give it all away for free. I'm not saying sell their home for free. Teach them how to sell their own home. They won't do it. They don't want to make a mistake. So the value prop, other than not this nonsense, just in my opinion, again, you get a free, cleaning or something. What's your value prop, Joe? Well, you get free staging. I get it. That's like a feature when they work with you. A value prop is how do you differentiate yourself and go, what I did is just go right to the top of the funnel, the top of the process, which was, I'm going to be known as the guy who's just telling people how to do things on their own. And then they'll come and use me. That was our last question, Bo. All right, boys and girls, if you want to get your question answered live here on the podcast, and it doesn't necessarily need to just come from real estate professionals, doesn't necessarily just need to come from a sales process perspective. We had a great question today about how to scale your team or how to build culture, I believe was the question. And so to get your question answered, all you got to do is go to meetjazztakar.com/podcast, meetjazztakar.com/podcast. Have the best week ever. I'll see you on next week's episode.